Hello everyone, welcome back to True Oracle Tarot. This reading is for the sign of Pisces for December 2025. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video if you feel connected to this reading or know anyone who may need to hear this message. Also, it helps the algorithm push the video out so it can reach others. Thank you. Hello Pisces, I hope everyone's doing well. Your reading will be in 3 parts. The first part is personal growth. The second is money. And then love. Okay. Your first card is the Six of Wands. Queen of Cups. Seven of Cups. The Empress. Three of Pentacles. King of Swords. And the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, I hope you guys can see that. All right. You know, Pisces, it looks like you had some kind of public success and emotional awareness through choices you've made. You also had some great achievements. Just for the overview of your cards, this is what I'm seeing here. You've also manifested a lot of events in your life leading to a lot of intellectual growth and clarity for long-term reward. So your Six of Wands is a card of recognition and success. Okay, it's success, victory, and of validation, right? You're coming off some type of something you've just achieved. You've had success, perhaps a business partnership, a promotion, a new job, something that you had victory on. It can also be doesn't necessarily mean your career. It could be personal life as well. You're also, if it is at work, you're also going to receive some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of public acknowledgement for your hard work. Something you've worked very hard for and is deserved. Okay, so celebrate your success. Okay, you're going to be in the spotlight, Pisces. I hope you can handle it. It will definitely boost your confidence. You'll have some kind of victory that can, it could even be a lawsuit, promotion, new job. And the Queen of Cups is your next card. The Queen of Cups represents a state of deep emotional intelligence. Okay, one using one's intuition, being compassionate to others. You need to be in touch with your inner emotions also. Okay, your inner feelings. Sometimes we might feel a certain way and we hide it because the people around us may not feel that way. Don't do that. Okay, you become a part of the pack rather than an individual. Okay, you become a blur rather than the thing that stands out. It's up to you what you want to be. Do you want to be like everyone else, or do you want to be who you are, who you are meant to be? Okay, so it also, the Queen of Cups also is telling you to lead with your heart. Okay, you could be in a leadership position as well. And you know, when we're working with people, we need to be compassionate. Everyone's going through different things. Yes, we must be an effective leader. However, you know, we are only as effective as our team, right? If there's something going on within the team, it's harder to become successful, you know, in a team environment. You know, trust your gut instincts also, okay? And how to approach approach situations with empathy and kindness. All right? It's a time, you know, and it's also a time for nurturing yourself. Is, you know, also what it's telling you. Remember, this is personal growth here, right? You know, nurture yourself and others around you, you know. And again, you know, grow your emotional intelligence, you know, your emotional wisdom. And then you have here the Seven of Cups. Okay? So, you know, you'll be entering a stage of where you have a lot of options. Okay, a lot of choices. There's a lot of possibilities coming your way. You know, your path is amazing right now. You know, there's so much coming, and it's good. You know, it's a lot of success coming up for you. You know, not just this month, but in the coming months in 2026 as well. You know, it could be a time of also, you know, you putting your creativity to work, and you know, and just engaging in deep thought. Okay, trying to figure out what your next step would be, your next project, you know, or your next career change, because I've seen a lot of that, a lot of career change happening right now. People taking their careers in different directions. Some people are starting businesses, branching out on their own, doing their own thing, you know, taking a side hustle to, you know, a full-time thing. Okay. It can also be a warning of some type of deception, you know, and don't be overwhelmed. Try not to be overwhelmed when you're making decisions or faced with your different paths, because you have a lot of options, different paths that you can take right now, right? Don't be overwhelmed. Try not to be overwhelmed. Just think it through. You know, make a board, pro and con on board, or you know, see if it coincides with your vision board if you have one, or your long-term goals, and it coincides with your morals, right? So, you know, the key here is to see through what is just a fantasy versus what is a real goal, what you can materialize, right? Because sometimes we have these fantasies that we may want to do something, but it's just not feasible, right? So you want to close those paths off, those paths that are just fantasy paths, and really pay attention to the ones that are achievable. Okay. And truly, you know, attainable, within your reach. Okay, rather than getting lost in daydreams. All right. And on your journey, here's your this month is the Empress, right? You know, the Empress is the ultimate card of creation, fertility, abundance, and nurturing. So it is a fertility card, like I said. So if you're not looking to become a parent, take the necessary steps. Okay. It's also a manifestation card. So December, you'll have a lot of ideas. You'll turn a lot of ideas into reality, or at least get the ball rolling. You can create anything during this time. Okay, this time is amazing for you. A lot of the path's really opening up, and that's really good. I mean, it's been tough for the past year, so I mean, a lot of the signs are having some tough times, but you are pulling through. You're coming out of it. Okay. So, the Empress is telling you, you can turn you can manifest what you've been, bring your goals into reality, your dreams into reality. Okay. Following all the confusion of the Seven of Cups, the Empress is telling you to bring your dreams to reality. Okay. So remember, it's an action card, right? It can't become reality if you don't take action. Okay. You can create anything during this time, like I said, a project, a business, you start a family if you want, or even if you're a painter, you can be the next Picasso, create some music. It's time for growth, pleasure, and bringing your dreams into reality. And next you have the Three of Pentacles. Okay. The Three of Pentacles is directing you to have patience and in your progress. Don't rush things. You've been putting in the work for a long-term goal. You've been investing in your dreams, investing in manifesting your reality. It's telling you you'll be successful. Just be patient. If you've planted the seed, so give it time to grow. You've invested the time, the energy, and the resources into something, your career, a relationship, something, a creative project, starting a family, whatever it is for you in your life, and it's your moment. It's your moment to pause, take a deep breath, reflect on what's working and what is not. Okay. And tweak it, tweak your approach, tweak your path. Okay. So we're going to move on to money. Pisces, 2026 should be really good. You'll, as you go through it, you'll step back and you're going to be like, wow, 2025 is just, it's like a myth. It becomes like a myth. It like, did it really happen? Things will be so good, Okay. Doing the love reading. First card is the Hierophant. This is money. We'll do your love reading just now. You have the Tower. The Four of Pentacles. The Hermit, Eight of Cups, High Priestess, and the Hangman. All right, the Pisces, the Hermit represents, you know, your current career path. You know, I see a lot of change here. You have some deep change in professional, financial scene, you know. It's going to be a little, you know, some significant change. You know, traditional, conventional route you've been taught to follow. You know, go to school. You know, get a degree, get a good job, then climb the corporate ladder. You know, start a family or a business. You know, the systems, its rules, institutions, establishments. You know, respect hierarchies, that sort of thing. You know, you've been a part of it. You know, it signifies belief in the right way to build a career, right? And how you should accumulate wealth, okay? Basically conforming, right? Conforming to society's norms, adherence to traditions, etc. But you're about to break the status quo. You know, you're about to take another path, Pisces. And so the Tower, you know, the Tower is just not an end, okay? It's a new beginning. It's a new beginning for you. You know, a sudden explosive event that will shatter the hierophants, the structure, the norms. You know, in your career, you know, this can be a layoff, it can be company bankruptcy, a project that has failed, you know, sudden job change, you know, a leadership shake-up in your company, something like that, a project that comes to abrupt end. You know, it could even be a moment where you just walk away. You just totally just walk away from it all. You just, you know, you just quit and say you're done. You know, you'll have an epiphany, basically. You're gonna wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm just tired of the rat race. You know, and it's gonna be because of some type of burnout, right? Some kind of routine that's just burning you out. You know, it can also be, you know, a market crash. It can be something going on in the economics of where you are, the markets, you know, world markets. You know, a bad investment also, or an unexpected expense you need to pay attention to. You know, that this disrupt your sense of security. Okay, so these things you need to look for. You know, pay attention to signs around you. Okay, sometimes things starts manifesting before it actually comes into reality. It manifests in a way. It starts showing signs that it's something's going to happen. You must pay attention to those signs, and you need to act when you start seeing them. One sign, that's one thing. 2, 3, you need to really pay attention. Okay. You know, the Tower is it's basically, saying that something's going to fall apart, but something's also going to come together. Okay? You've been kind of limiting your growth also, because of the hierarchy in the career, in your career, right? Sometimes when promotions and such depends on how long you've been there rather than performance, that's limiting. That's, it creates stagnancy. It limits your growth as an individual, also, just not career-wise or money, and if that's the case, then it's not the right path for you, but then only you can decide that, right? The Tower isn't gentle, but it is honest. In the ruins you'll rebuild, however, wiser, braver, freer, and on your own terms, I must say. And in comes the Four of Pentacles. Okay? Because you had your Tower moment, the Four of Pentacles has appeared telling you, just stop. Stop clinging to the rubble, stop clinging to the old way of doing things, You're afraid, and, you're holding on too tight to your coins also. I mean, it's very well, right? You just had a Tower moment. Of course you're holding on to your coins, but it's telling you, you may have been holding on too tight to this job, although, or project or whatever it is that, it manifests for you, that, you were unable to see the instability of it. Okay? Yes, the salary may have been stable, but for you, but, at this time, invest in yourself, and take a risk. If that means going back to school, taking a different career path in general, then do it. Don't be afraid. Build a fortress to protect yourself, but don't build a tomb around yourself, just stuck in your head thinking about the Tower. It's time to move on. Okay? The Tower showed that your fortress was made of glass, and that, the true security doesn't come from clutching to things tightly, okay? So tightly that you weren't able to grow, and you were not seeing it. You were just, kind of happy to go along. And here's the Hermit. After the chaos of the Tower, this is your cue to unplug, okay? The Hermit card is your cue to unplug. You need to do some introspection, Pisces. This is a period of deep soul searching also about, new career path. Research new paths that you can, with the experience that you have. Some of you may just go off on something totally different. Okay, it may not have anything to do with your degree, your training. You'll just go off and do something totally different. This is it's a deep period of soul searching for you. Do some research, reevaluate your skills, skill up if you need to, find the inner wisdom that was drowned out by your old job, by the old ordinary, how is the saying, move along to get along, get something like that. You seek your own truth, Pisces, away from the expectations of others also, okay? And here's the Eight of Cups, okay? It's your conscious decision to walk away from the remnants of your old life. You've had your hermit moments where you're like, okay, and you're ready to roll, you're ready to move on, you're putting things into action, right? You know, after your hermit like introspection, you realize that, you know, even the pieces left behind you is not even worth, it's not even worth it, it's not even worth rebuilding, it's just not, it's not worth it, because you're gonna look back and realize that, oh my gosh, I was really stuck in this really toxic cycle, you know. You know, the job you had, even if it were offered back, would no longer fulfill you. Okay? You know, the Eight of Cups affirms that it's okay to want more, and to fill your cups. Right? You know, the money you were making, it felt hollow. You know, you merge with courage and with walk away from what no longer serves you, and that's what the Eight of Cups is. Okay, and enter in the High Priestess. You know, it's the High Priestess is your new guiding code. You know, where the Hierophant was about external rules and traditions, the High Priestess is about inner knowledge, your intuition, and secrets, you know, too. Right? You know, the High Priestess is your new career. All right? You know, you'll be guided by your gut feeling. You know, not a handbook. I think you're tired of that. You'll do if you have to, but it's not what you want. So your gut feelings is going to take precedence. You know, the card is also a green light for anyone working in, you know, psychology, sociology, spiritual practice, you know, writing maybe, or any field that relies on insight over output, you know, above point, could point towards a career in a more obscure or psychological field, or something, or it, you know, simply a new way of operating in general, where your intuition is your most valuable assets. You know, you'll decide to build a new path based on your inner wisdom and intuition. Okay. And lastly, in the career, you have the Hangman. Okay. Now, the Hangman is the final stage of your transformation this month. But then in the spiritual realm, time does not exist, so this doesn't necessarily is bound just for the December month. Okay, this is an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing process until you arrive at your Hangman. You know, which is the final stage. You know, it's a journey from a prison of security, yeah, because you felt that way, right? From a prison of security to a freedom, to freedom of purpose. Okay, you know, to fully embrace your new path, you must completely surrender your old views. All right, Pisces, because we have to evolve. Remember, you're moving into a different phase of life, so we must evolve in all aspects of our life. That's what growth is. All right, we can't say, well, we're going to move on here, but still hold on or have ourselves chained to backwards or out of date type of thinking, you know, or processes. Okay, so the hangman is represents you releasing your old views. Okay, you have a lot to let go. How you thought about success and money, was supposed to look like, or was supposed to be. You might be earning less, however, may even have a lower status or lower title, but you're happier and you're free. You're freer, and you can use your intuition, you know, because before it just didn't make sense to your old self. But from this new perspective, you gain profound wisdom. You see the true wealth isn't just pentacles, just coins in a bank, numbers on your phone, on an app. All right. You see your soul purpose, which is the Eight of Cups, right? Guided by your intuition. you know this reading is powerful. you know it's a for it's hard, but it is liberating at the same time, right? you know so I hope this was some good enlightenment here in career. Remember, this is just a general reading. It's not for everyone, just some people. And we're going to move on to love. Not everyone's going to, connect to it. But take what works for you, and or ask a question if you feel like you need for me to clarify somehow. Send me a message, comment, and I will respond if I see it, if I get an alert or something that you sent it to me. Or you can, in the YouTube comments, there's I think a community section there. You can comment there as well. Okay. So love for Pisces for December is the Knight of Swords. We have the Ace of Cups. The Eight of Swords. It's a lot of thinking. Or the Tower. The Star. It's a good card. And the Ace of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, you have two knights. So it looks like there is some type of struggle in this connection, right? There may be, if you're in a relationship, there may be somebody else. Your person might be a bit jealous, a bit over controlling too as well. It's a period of some conflict. You feeling like you've created a prison for yourself, but you'll have a breakthrough. All right, the Knight of Swords here, a card that represents a rush of energy and communication. Direct action in love, but your relationship seems a bit rough right now. But how can I say it? Look for a word, like a whirlwind, perhaps. It can be passionate, though. You may have a new connection or this is a new connection that's just moving really fast, right? That's what the Knight of Swords is. Knight of Swords moving fast, and here's your Ace of Cups. You know, it's the ultimate card of new emotional beginnings. Okay, so if this is a new relationship, or even if it is not, you know, it's just things are moving along, things are evolving in the one that you have, or it's causing events are provoking change, okay, in an existing relationship, okay. You know, your journey begins with the Knight, you know, the Knight of Swords, and the Ace of Cups is suggesting a relationship that started with you know, fast, with a bang, and moving really fast, you know, suddenly exciting, you know, a lot of emotional change and connection too. It seems to be very intense, or is very intense, and full of a lot of passion, you know, a lot of communication. It was exciting, you know, a whirlwind type connection, you know, and it felt like it was meant to be, right? It felt like it was meant to be. However, you know, your initial sparks may not have been sustainable, might not have been enough, okay? Because here's the Eight of Swords. Right? This card is about self-imprisonment, because something is happening. I don't know if is your person jealous, like overly jealous, or I'm hoping this is not like a love-hate type relationship, like you love the person but you hate certain things about them. You know, that's what the Eight of Swords is, you know, depending on your perspective, but that's what it is in love. You know, it represents feeling trapped and helpless, you know, unable to see a way out of a bad situation. You know, fast pace, and it happened so fast that you weren't able to set a solid foundation, to build a solid foundation, which seemed to have created a bit of confusion and anxiety, you know, and again feeling trapped, you know. But I'm not sure what's happening there with you, but you know, something that started off so beautiful, so quick, just became a bit stagnant, it seems. Yeah, it looks like one of you might be a bit overly jealous or controlling. Could also be self-esteem issues, and they're projecting it on you, or you're projecting it onto them. Okay. Wow. Okay, so it's also saying that, you know, just not feeling powerless, but mentally drained as well. Okay? Because when it's good, right? And when it's bad, it's really bad. And it can be mentally draining. And here's the Tower. You know, and the Tower is unavoidable, unfortunately. You know, it's unavoidable change. You know, the Tower is the earthquake, or the shaking up that shatters the foundation, or not very well made foundation in your relationship. You know, it's a sudden breakup, some type of something that may be revealed. But also remember, the Tower is not all bad, right? Tower is just not an ending. It's also a beginning. It could be that the old way is over. It's end. There's something that you've worked through. You've identified the issues, both you and your connection, and decided, look, we love each other, we care about each other, we want this to work, we cannot continue this way, so we need to make changes, and that would be your new, okay? You know, yeah, it's a situation that triggers the Tower, okay? The structure, you know, it's already cracked and crashing down. It's just unavoidable. It has to come to an end. You know, it may be painful, but it also can spark a new beginning, okay? You know, it could be start by a fight that leads to a breakup that reveals, because you have a path. This is a crossroads. You can either, one, walk away, or two, fix it. But your connection, the other person has to want to do it, put in the work. All right. So, you know, you'll have some clarity on that. You know, no one should be able to feel as if they're in a cage. And here's the star. You know, it comes after the rubble of the Tower. You know, the star is quiet. You know, quiet healing, introspection. You know, it represents hope, right? Renewal in the aftermath, right? Faith in the future. You know, learning to trust again, finding hope, you know. And you'll realize that your Tower moment was actually a gift, okay? It's clearing the way for something more aligned with your true self. You know, the card is the bridge from the devastation to a new beginning. Because here you are, the Ace of Pentacles, right? See, he's on a journey. Right? It's time to move on. Either fix things or move on. You know, the Ace of Pentacles is new beginning. New beginning, a grounded, you know, a more grounded new beginning, more in the material world, you know. You may have, for those who have moved on, you know, it's an offer of a new beginning. So there's someone else coming into the picture, someone new. You know, they're grounded, more clear thinking. You know, it's a new opportunity for love for you. You know, the person is stable and is committed. If you want to be committed, they're ready. You know, they're ready to put in the work. Okay, and they're secure also. They're secure. They're just not secure within themselves, but they're financially secure. You know, they're doing well. They may not be a billionaire, but they're not doing bad. They're doing pretty well. You know, it's a new offer, something real and something lasting. If you have chosen to move on. Here's the Knight of Pentacles, right? The Knight of Pentacles, it's literally the opposite of the Knight of Swords, which is your old person, your old connection. Or if you chose to remain in a relationship, this is the transition, right? Your connection, or you have chosen to move away from the chaos and evolve into something new. Okay? You know, the Knight of Pentacles is a bit slow, but steady, and, you know, they're reliable and patient also. You know, it's a partner who is just not dependable, but loyal and committed for the long run. All right? You know, the Knight of Pentacles, you know, it has energy, and the energy that you need to help you start with your new beginning. You know, you have to adapt, though, okay? Although you used to fast, to lightning and things moving quick and passion and all this thing, the Knight of Pentacles is slow. It's not like that. They're slow and steady. Okay, just have patience. You know, the relationship will be successful. You know, this person, like I said, they're consistent, and they'll put in the work. You know, they'll work with you to build a strong foundation. Okay, some lasting foundation. So congratulations there, Pisces. All right, I'm going to pull an energy card, and let's see what the universe has to say. What's there? What they're telling you to have. Joy. Joy is a dance of the soul. Enjoy every moment. And there it is. Find joy in everything. Everything you do, no matter how, you know, intense the situation, find joy. You know, embrace the things you have. Hold on to, be happy and grateful for the things you have, not the things you don't have. Okay? Thank you for stopping by, Pisces. Sending you positive vibes. Until next time.